Activision Blizzard. Oh boy, we're back with another story about them. And this one comes as no surprise to me and shouldn't for anybody else. Bad company. Blizzard. Bad company. Overwatch 2 devs announced that most of the original plans for PvE have been scrapped. Now, if you've not followed Overwatch at all, maybe this doesn't sound like a huge deal whatsoever. If you've followed it even loosely, you should probably know at this stage that the entire reason for Overwatch 2 to exist, or at least a publicly discussed reason from Blizzard, is for the PvE. That is what they sold the game as. We're retiring Overwatch 1, a game you paid money for, but don't worry, we're upgrading Overwatch 2 into a new engine, which some people don't even like and think it feels worse. We're going to rebalance the game. We're going to take it from a 6v6 to a 5v5. We're going to add a game mode. We're removing some stuff, including loot boxes because of regulatory concerns. And there's going to be PvE missions campaign, this whole hero mode, and that's going to be a big focus. That's why we've not been releasing content for Overwatch 1, even though we said this was going to be a game that would be consistently updated and be at the forefront of, Blizzard's push forward as one of their main staple games. So when Blizzard comes out and says, oh yeah, the PvE stuff we said we were going to be doing, and that was the entire reason to sunset Overwatch 1 and give you Overwatch 2, we're just not doing it anymore. We just can't deliver on it. So obviously from 2019 until Overwatch 2's launch, which isn't even really a launch, it's kind of like an early access, because obviously all they did was launch the PvP, which you already had in Overwatch 1. So they just gave you Overwatch 2 when you already could have been playing Overwatch 1, and it wasn't the same game. But this is how do you even fucking describe this to somebody? If you time travel somebody from 15 years ago who was playing Blizzard games, where Blizzard was the king of game development, they could do no wrong. They just released banger after banger after banger. Loads of PC gamers. Who's your favorite developer from your childhood? Blizzard. What's your favorite game? It's a Blizzard game from back in the day. And now you look at this, and I can't describe this as anything other than a rug pull. It would be unfair to do so because we use that term in cryptocurrency all the time. We use that term in indie gaming and crowdfunding. I can't see how selling somebody on this game will have this, buy this game, play this game, invest money into this game, even though investing money into a game is a stupid concept. It's not an investment, stop saying that. And then not delivering on the literal things that the game was sold on, I cannot understand how that is not just a rug pull. It sounds like a fucking scam. I would just like to know where the nuance is here that I'm missing, that this isn't considered some form of scam, some form of rug pull. Here we have it. Here's the interview that they posted. Love a good 23,000 to 2,000 dislike to like ratio.
Oh, no problem. And Jared, I think I wanna start with you.
Jared, we're gonna throw you under the bus now, brother. Are you ready to speed run fucking just angering everybody? Good day to anger everybody. Let's go.
Yeah, you got it. We announced Overwatch 2 in 2019, and a part of that presentation was about this always-on, deeply replayable PvE experience.
He's even saying it. A lot of the point in the initial announcement of Overwatch 2 was on the PvE. As he's saying, it's always on this deep PvE element.
And as work slowly continued on Overwatch 2, we began to pull more and more of our focus and energy away from the live game and all of the people that were playing it. We had players that were excited to be playing that game, and they just wanted more of it. So we had a difficult choice to make. We could continue working on our original vision for Overwatch 2 without a definitive end date.
Like these are the trailers and everything showing what, Overwatch 2, big deal. And what he's saying here, if you missed it, by the way, is he's saying they had people playing live Overwatch, so Overwatch 1, while the development team's main focus was on Overwatch 2. So he's saying that the vision of Overwatch 2 was pulling focus away from Overwatch 1's live service, which of course it was, but you made that decision.
Sight, or change our strategy and get something in front of players sooner. We chose the latter, and we released Overwatch 2 last October with new heroes, new maps, new modes, and regular seasonal updates. But more than that, we shifted our values for how we want to develop the game. No longer would we store content up for really big releases and leave the game sort of languishing on the side. Now we made a commitment to always prioritize the live game and all of the people playing it, and to devote our development efforts there. This game is nothing without all of you.
So we're going to spit in your open mouth by not delivering the main selling point of Overwatch 2, which I do just have to say, they didn't sell Overwatch 2 technically, because obviously it's a free-to-play game. But you know what they did do? They sold pre-order packages for their free-to-play game to allow you to play the game early, which, as we all know, millions of people do when a new game comes out or a game that they're excited for. And bear in mind, Blizzard is pulling from a pool of hundreds of millions of people that own accounts on the Battle.net. They said, you want to get in early? Well, you can. Pay us some money and you can get in early. So while they didn't technically sell everyone the game, they did remove access to a game you paid for that worked in one way, and then sold access to some people and gave everyone access to a game that works in a different way, on the promise that there would be X, Y, and Z, but there's only X, and it seems like X is mostly monetization, which we'll get to in a minute. So I'll just read you the quote, because the video, I just can't be bothered to find where it was. Development on the PvE experience, although this is from this, so I'll leave a link to this in the video description, you can go check it. Development on the PvE experience really hasn't made the progress we would have hoped. The team has created a bunch of amazing content, so there's awesome missions that are really exciting, there's brand new enemies that are super fun to fight, and some truly great and ridiculous hero talents. But unfortunately, all the effort required to pull all of that together in a Blizzard quality experience that we can ship to you is huge, and there really is not an end in sight. So we are left with another difficult choice. Do we continue to pour all of that effort into PvE, hoping that we can land it in at some point in the future, or do we focus on the live game? Bear in mind, it was 4 years ago they announced this PvE stuff in Overwatch 2. They launched Overwatch 2 without that stuff, and now they're saying, oh yeah, we just can't get it ready. With everything we've learned about what it takes to operate this game at the level you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. We won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore. So this is not just them saying, oh, it's not going to be here for this year, it's not going to be here for next year. They're saying it's not in their plans, full stop, it's just not coming. The things that they sold people on, the crucial core reason to create Overwatch 2 in the first place no longer exists. They're just not going to do it, which I think is absolutely fucking ridiculous. But I'll just read you this post from the gaming subreddit to summarize why people are upset with this in as concise of a manner as possible. Number 1, destroy the original game's balancing and meta with heroes that created unfun metas. Stop developing Overwatch content, causing it to die, and leaving it a balancing mess so people would lower their standards to view any change as a good change. Announce sequel with ambitious PvE campaign mode to justify it. PvP is revealed to be the same with minor reworks, and 5v5 making PvE the only thing to actually look forward to. Announce that PvE won't come at launch, and release it in early access. Delete the original game that we paid for to consolidate player base. Introduce aggressive monetization of skins and a battle pass to increase revenue while still holding PvE over our heads. More silence on PvE. Players get angry, but many, myself included, have faith they'll deliver on their promises. Then they announce a PvE update interview, misleading everyone into thinking we would see anything. Number 11, announce its cancellation on the grounds it was taking too much away from the PvP that they released in early access and the whole reason Overwatch 2 existed. So I would say, other than the, I guess, opinions about balancing and things, this is a fairly objective analysis of what happened. It obviously doesn't include the entire fact that Overwatch is not only a game, but an esport that Activision Blizzard propped up and sold to investors for tens of millions of dollars per team. And it is an absolute abject fucking failure, a complete joke, where there's even lawsuits going around now, and the viewership for it has been a fucking mess. So Overwatch 2 was even in some ways sort of a way to placate people by saying, investors, oh, don't worry, because when Overwatch 2 comes out, everything's going to be fixed. It's going to get a big influx of players, a big influx of eyeballs, and you'll be able to start making a return on that tens of millions of dollars investment into our dog shit esports league that nobody really cares about, which of course hasn't happened and is going to happen even less now because more people are going to quit based on the fact that Blizzard have literally sold them a lemon in the purest sense of the saying. So in terms of monetization, what did they do? Because they removed loot boxes, right? Which is one good thing. Good job, Blizzard. You did it. Obviously, there was reasons to do that, like certain countries in Europe blocking it, and more countries going forward that are going to block loot boxes. So now is a pretty good time to veer away from that, especially considering there's other ways to monetize your audience. So what they did in Overwatch 1 was they sold people on a box price of a game and said, you'll never have to buy heroes, ever. They'll all just be released and you can play the game. Which means without massive backlash, they couldn't sell you heroes in Overwatch 1, right? So they released Overwatch 2 as a free-to-play game and monetize it like a free-to-play game. So essentially, you have the Battle Pass, you have rotating skin shops where skins are incredibly expensive. Then you also have heroes that you just don't own by default because it's not a purchased game. So how is Overwatch 2 different from Overwatch 1? Well, they removed some of the maps people like, I believe. Don't take my word for that, not an Overwatch player, just from what I've seen in comments. They made the monetization, I'd say, objectively worse in terms of you used to have everything, but now you don't. They made it 5v5. They rebalanced the game. They added a bunch of heroes, which of course plays into the monetization. The engine's upgraded, so it looks and feels a little bit different. And they added a new game mode. Aside from that, Overwatch 2 is Overwatch 1, just monetized worse, and with the promise of things that now don't exist. So if you had an option of playing Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 2, I think a lot of people would probably prefer to just play Overwatch 1. Obviously, you don't have that option anymore. And Blizzard have just done another one here where it's really hard to say that they haven't just said the words literally out of their mouth, fuck our fans. Maybe I've just not thought about this enough, and I'm admitting that that might be the case. But I don't see any nuance here that immediately jumps out as like, oh, it's okay. Blizzard are actually not in the wrong here. They've done nothing wrong. This is totally normal and acceptable for someone to do to their consumers. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. One of the most ridiculous things Blizzard have done in recent years, which is saying a lot. Also, not just from like an optics perspective and from the perspective of a consumer. From the perspective of anyone who has faith in Blizzard at all, even from an investor standpoint, what kind of faith do you now put in Blizzard as a company that announce a product, tell you what's going to be in it, create it, not the stuff that was announced, deliver some of it, and then say, we are not good enough to deliver the things we sold you on? What does that say about the competence of this company and the faith that you would put in them as any consumer, any investor, anybody looking at Blizzard as a company? How are you supposed to think that future games are going to be good and give them money and trust them when this is what they're saying? We can't deliver on our promises and we are not good enough. I just don't know, man. Everything about this just stinks. It's a really shit situation. I feel bad for the Overwatch fans. Again, I'm not one of them. I'm just jumping on the bandwagon here of I liked Blizzard. Of course, going to play Diablo 4 because fuck me, right? As a consumer, I'm just going to keep consuming as we do. But at this point, there's no words of defense I can use for Blizzard. I'm sure there's a lot of people within that company that really love the games that they work on, that really love the audience, and it's not the workers usually that are the problems. Of course, when we talk about Blizzard as a company, we're talking about usually executive level decision makers. They're the ones that set the goals, set the release dates. They're the ones that are okaying things like the initial release, talking about what was going to be in it, over-promising, and ultimately under-delivering. But either way, yeah, that's Overwatch 2, man. What an absolute fucking joke. I'm so glad I didn't bother playing this. I had no real interest in Overwatch anyway. I didn't particularly like the game when it first came out. It was okay, but I'm not a big hero shooter person in general. But it is crazy to me that tiny companies and much smaller companies than Blizzard make games, sometimes that Blizzard even pioneered as a genre, and just blow them out of the water now. It's a fucking joke with how much money, experience, and pedigree this company has. Then again, it's just shipper Theseus, right? They've replaced every part, and now what you've got is just a husk being worn by Bobby Kotick running around playing fucking ghost stories or something. So, yeah, there we go. Overwatch 2. Blizzard, good joke. See you next time. Peace out.